They battle for territory. They clash for prey.
2023 is going to be an amazing year for all kinds of gamers. Be it hardcore professionals or casual weekenders, there's something for everyone. Games like Wild Hearts, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, Forspoken and Tekken 8 are set to take the gaming world by storm. Among the big budget games solely for the next-gen consoles like Xbox, X Series and PlayStation 5, players will have a variety of awesome RPGs, FPPs and fighting games. I'll cut the chase short and get into our list of the 20 most mind-blowing AAA big budget games that are set to release in 2023. Let's begin, shall we?
Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means an awful lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Wild Hearts. Electronic Arts, or EA, does not really produce games that are set in feudal Japan. But that changed after EA's recent collaboration with Koei Tecmo. The game has been developed by Omega Force, the firm behind the decades-old game Dynasty Warriors. Given that Wild Hearts is being worked upon by veteran firms in the industry, the game should be worth the $70 check. The publisher is set to release its hunting-cum-action-adventure game Wild Hearts on February 17th of next year. The game would be available on PS5, Xbox Series X and PC. It is highly unlikely that it would release on Xbox One or PS4 because the game seems to be exclusively next-gen. Let's get into the gameplay. The gameplay will somewhat resemble previous games like Monster Hunter. The player will need to scout locations, gear up for awesome hunting battles, set traps, and strive to survive against some really challenging and jaw-dropping monsters. It seems that the crafting and building elements will make it different from the run-of-the-mill hunting games. Wild Hearts is essentially set in a feudal Japan-inspired world called Azuma, which is plagued by massive plant-infused monsters called kimono. These monsters were once peaceful, but turned violent due to unknown reasons and are now terraforming Earth, which is risking human lives. The players become the bearers of karakuri and are supposed to restore balance. Furthermore, the game will primarily make use of sophisticated ancient technology called karakuri. The player will be able to craft it to create and set traps like harpoon cannons, explosives, etc. Lastly, you can either play Wild Hearts as a lone wolf or travel across the regions in groups of 3 with your friends on all supported devices. Dead Space. When the original Dead Space game was released back in 2008, it took the gaming world by storm. Considered to be one of the best games of that era, Dead Space lost its charm by its third installment, which was majorly caused because the game introduced microtransactions. Nevertheless, the Dead Space remake will hit the market on January 27th, 2023. However, you can pre-book your copy of the game as we speak. The developers and EA have assured gamers that the new game is a faithful reimagining of the original. However, there will be certain differences which we hope will enrich the game instead of diminishing its former charm. Secondary characters will have a much more important role, and there will be plenty more jump scares. For instance, the transformation of characters into necromorphs will take place up close and on screen instead of happening behind the screens and veils. And of course, the development of new technology between 2008 and 2022 will be utilized to make the game increasingly dramatic, scary, and immersive. Instead of being a remastered work, the game will remain a much-needed remake that producer Philippe Ducharme says will honor the legacy of the original. Much like Wild Hearts, Dead Space is also built for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. The gameplay will follow that of the original and strive to be an amazing survival horror on the hull of USG Ishimura, a mining ship that's now the den of mutated corpses called necromorphs. These are creatures who came into existence after a sorry soul becomes infected with a terrifying extraterrestrial infection. Since they are already dead, killing them is difficult and one must dismember and flay the necromorphs. That's exactly what players would be expected to do. You'd be able to rip apart your undead enemies, break their bones, and flay them in the most graphic manner to live the best survival horror experience. The user experience and user interface will also have certain upgrades. For instance, the hit point meter and inventory will be much easier to access.
It's okay. I'll always be with you.
Death Stranding 2. Kojima Productions recently confirmed that Death Stranding is very much alive and happening. Although the game does not have a specific release date, we think it should be available for purchase sometime later this year or early next year. The original was a great piece of work that had some awesome graphics and a top-notch walking simulator. The second installment of the game will feature several weirdly wonderful things that would twist your mind and make you question your eyes. The character Sam Porter has grown up in Death Stranding 2. There's really precious little news and info about the game as of now. In fact, it may not even be titled Death Stranding 2, which seems more of a working title in the production stage.
Eyes up, people!
Congratulations, Task Force Act. You're the first assets to make it into Metropolis alive.
I was just about to do that!
Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. Developed by Rocksteady, the new Suicide Squad game is a continuation of the firm's Arkham trilogy that ended in 2015 with Arkham Knight, which ended with Batman and Alfred seemingly dead when Wayne Manor exploded with them inside. Later, two muggers attack a family in an alley, much like the Wayne family, and a nightmarish Batman-like silhouette arrives there to stop the mugging. Rocksteady's new game has confirmed that Batman will return, but in a different role and capacity. But on the brighter side, the legendary Kevin Conroy will voice Batman. The man passed away recently this year, and it's only fitting that Conroy's final act would be voicing Batman one last time. It's been confirmed that the game is set for release on May 26, 2023. And now, let's jump into the game's story and gameplay. The game is set in the DC universe and will take place in Metropolis, Gotham's sister city and Superman's home. It picks up a few months after Batman Arkham Knight. Amanda Waller resorts to seeking help from Suicide Squad, a team that's good at what it does, but what it does is far from good. The team soon learns that Brainiac has mind-controlled the Justice League, and they are serving as henchmen in his plan to bring about an alien invasion on Earth. The Suicide Squad's mission is to eliminate the Justice League, and their alpha target is Superman. You can play as 4 characters, including Harley Quinn, Deadshot, King Shark, and Captain Boomerang. Each character will have a specific and unique set of abilities and moveset. For instance, Harley is super agile and great at using melee weapons. King Shark's sheer brute force will knock out even the strongest of victims, and Captain Boomerang is the comic relief who doesn't shy away from making things deadly. And lastly, Deadshot will offer all the firepower that the team needs. Apart from going in solo, one can team up with 3 more people when the game releases online. Creative director and co-founder of Rocksteady, Stephen Hill, has said that Metropolis itself will serve as the 5th character of the game, which is quite an interesting thing to say. The open world setting will give the players many things to explore and do. All in all, Rocksteady's game will be proof that superhero games can be high-end and high quality.
The journey ahead will reveal what you stand for.
Hogwarts Legacy. I guess the wait for Harry Potter fans is finally over, and they can now start practicing the O's in Leviosas and swooshing and flicking their wands. After undergoing 2 delays, Hogwarts Legacy, the new open-world Harry Potter role-playing game, is set to release on February 10th, 2023. I don't know if it's unfortunate or fortunate, but series author J.K. Rowling is not a part of the game, although her team is said to have contributed to making the game sensible and true to the Harry Potter universe. So the game is set in the late 19th century, which is almost 200 years before the adventures of Potter. The player will take the role of an unnamed 5th-year student who received a late acceptance letter. But you can master and perceive ancient magic, which is why you enter Hogwarts as a 5th-year student, and it is now up to you to use your talents for the good and to save the wizarding world, or to become a minion of evil by yielding to the temptation of sinister magic and power. The main character's appearance, name, house, gender, etc. are to be decided by the player, but the player will have 3 characters belonging to different houses, one of whom will be a Slytherin named Sebastian Sallow, who has a knack for going against rules. The other 2 are a brave Gryffindor girl named Natsai Onai and a kind Hufflepuff girl named Poppy Sweeting who loves magical beasts. As for the antagonist, you'll be expected to stop an evil goblin named Ranrock, who hates the wizard kind and is planning to use ancient magic to exterminate all wizards and witches. Furthermore, there will be dark forces, magical beasts, and a mysterious Professor Fig who would guide the player through the arduous journey. Apart from the combat and battle side, the game will put the players in scenarios where they will have to choose between right and wrong and define what they stand for. With combat being a major part of the game, one will be going to places such as Forbidden Forest, Hogsmeade, various classrooms, Room of Requirement, etc. Being a Harry Potter fan myself, I guess this would be a great walk down the memory lane. Oh, and by the way, if you want the collector's edition, that'll cost you a hefty $300. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. EA had been hinting at a Fallen Order sequel for quite some time, and it was finally in May 2022 at the Star Wars Celebration event that EA revealed the official name for the sequel game. The main protagonist will be Cal Kestis, who was the protagonist for the 2019 game as well. However, the new game will feature a string of new characters, lightsaber variants, as well as a lizard that could be ridden. Cal Kestis' new journey will begin on March 17, 2023 this year, and the game will release simultaneously across several platforms, including PC. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is being developed by Respawn Entertainment, who are the same people behind Apex Legends. There's also news that Respawn is working with Bit Reactor for a new Star Wars strategy game. As far as the story is concerned, the game is a sequel to the first game, in which Cal Kestis led a mission underwater inside an Imperial fortress. Here he recovered a database of all the children in the galaxy who were Force sensitive, but he did not wish to turn these children into Jedis and further risk their lives, so Cal decided to destroy the data, but this cut off the story's potential. So it would be only speculation from this point on. The gameplay will of course bear similarities with the 2019 game. Cal would be fighting enemies who are much more powerful than him, but then again, they are not Jedis. The players may also need to learn a few strategies specific to enemies in order to defeat them. Nevertheless, Cal Kestis will definitely be a more experienced Jedi who has a better grasp of his abilities and better knowledge of his weaknesses. The game will release on all next-gen gaming consoles as well as PC. Street Fighter VI. What started as an arcade game in 1987 has turned into a cash cow today, and for all the right reasons. If there's one thing that Street Fighter has managed to maintain, it is the intelligent updates to each of the subsequent versions of the game. Likewise, it would make sense to expect some really cool enhancements, moves, modes, and characters in the 6th installment of the game, which is set to release on June 2nd, 2023. Clearly, Street Fighter is one of the most popular fighting games, if not the very best. The gameplay will have you indulge in a rich and satisfying streak of battles, where you'd be shooting melee weapons, executing some super badass moves, pulling off lethal combos, and above all, you'll be engaging in thrilling fights. Furthermore, the new control scheme will bridge the gap between new and returning players. The addition of the new control scheme will let players execute special character moves with the ease of a simple button click, which means that players do not need to memorize button combinations and tire their thumb. Furthermore, changing the direction will lead to different special moves. This also allows an easier way to perform auto attacks, but the real attack depends on where your character is positioned in the game. You know, mid-range allows jump attacks, long range allows melee attacks, and so on. However, the traditional layout with 6 buttons continues to exist. The game will have several modes, including an open world mode, which is bound to offer a more immersive single-player experience and more things to explore. Several fan-favorite characters like Guile, Chun-Li, and Ryu are set to appear, and we couldn't be more thrilled. There's another good news. Despite being a big-budget game, it would also release on PS4, apart from the next-gen consoles and PC. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Easily the world's most popular miniature war game, the Warhammer franchise has continued to delight gamers across the globe, especially the Brits. Superpowered soldier is easily any millennial or Gen Z's dream. If you're one of those curious souls wanting to learn about Warhammer 40k's sequel, you're in the correct place. At the Game Awards, they released the gameplay trailer of Space Marine 2. And trust me, it looks nothing less than phenomenal. The main character, Lieutenant Titus, is voiced by Clive Standen. You may recognize him from shows such as Vikings and Taken. Interestingly, he has also done a Bollywood movie called Namaste London, where he starred as the lead girl's fiancé. Anyway, the bombastic trailer puts the beloved Space Marine in a war against never-seen horrors to protect the fate of humanity. The studio behind the game is Saber Interactive, which also gave the world the gift of the 2019 game World War Z. The trailer shows Titus fighting a bunch of Hormagaunts to save a few Imperial Guardsmen. The game is supposed to have a grander scale of everything when compared to the predecessor, so much so that the player feels like an unstoppable death dispenser. Although there's no specific release date yet, I would bet on it releasing later next year, and that's the reason why the game is on this list. So far, there are no reports that suggest that it would release on PS4, Nintendo Switch, or Xbox One, so it's possibly an exclusive next-gen console game. Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 will bring us a Los Angeles brimming to the top with zombie blood and overflowing with gore. The first installment came out in 2011, and more than a decade later, the second installment will hit the market on April 28, 2023. The opening trailer gave us a glimpse of everything one should expect from the game. It starts in a trashy room that overlooks a pool. The floor is filled with empty alcohol bottles, cigarette butts, and everything that can be related to a good night. A hand then reaches out, the owner of which searches through the house for some more alcohol but finds nothing. He turns around, and we see a bunch of bloody corpses scattered across the room. He grabs his gun and walks out in the open, only to get swarmed by dumb zombies, whom he kills in various ways. One gets a bottle smashed on his face, others are burned to their final death, and some get stomped on the face. It seems that this man has learned to live with the zombies and has come to accept this new way of life. He even says hi to a few of them. After making a quick grocery run, he returns to his apartment and relaxes on the couch, but is clearly frustrated at a zombie chick coming his way. He reaches his pocket, takes out a special rifle round, loads it into his gun, and the zombie goes kaboom. But then, his TV remote batteries are lost. So what does a man do in a zombie-infested city? Well, he picks up his katana and makes another trip to the supermarket. Oh, and by the way, this guy is also infected, but he has managed to retain his humanity. Well, in a manner of speaking. The players will get to choose between one of the 6 characters and will have the opportunity to kill zombies by slicing, stabbing, kicking and smashing. Weapons are thrown, there's hand-to-hand combat, but there's also a bit of assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns and other traditional firearms. Just like the original, Dead Island 2 will also focus on melee attacks than ammunition. Irrespective of how the game wants you to kill, it would be an elegant party of gore and blood.
The new United States of America. That I shall faithfully serve
the new United States of America.
Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty is not as much a new game as it is an expansion of the existing Cyberpunk 2077. The game was released in 2020 and created massive ripples in the gaming world because of the awesome gameplay, graphics, and lore. 2 years later, the game is set for an upgrade and will feature Idris Elba, the only guy as cool as Keanu Reeves, if not cooler. The new patch should be aired sometime in 2023, although the exact date has not been revealed yet. It would turn the game into an engaging spy thriller and will be set in an entirely new district called Night City. This unexplored area would comprise the southwestern part of the map and is by far the most dangerous place in the Cyberpunk 2077 world. It is rumored that the authorities often dispose of the most dangerous of criminals in his area and might have an armed militia led by a general who doesn't really have any qualms about violence, especially killing scavengers. The main character V will probably infiltrate several high-security places and take part in some thrilling espionage. As far as the gameplay is concerned, it will still remain a first-person perspective game, although Cyberpunk doesn't classify itself as so. But then again, it has various elements like RPG, shooting, exploration, and interactions. If you haven't played the game, it's majorly a game that revolves around the choices you make as V, and each of these choices has a different outcome. Furthermore, the life paths and classes also impact the future of your character and how they complete their respective missions. Much like RPG games such as D&D, one can divide their skill points into various attributes such as cool, technical, intelligence, reflex, and body. Phantom Liberty is supposed to enhance all these factors while improving certain areas such as vehicle versus vehicle combat. And of course, the inclusion of Idris Elba simply changes everything about Phantom Liberty.
One who could push me.
Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is giving the developers at Insomniac Games sleepless nights, and for all the right reasons. The award-winning team created the original 2018 game and is hard at work to release the second installment. Insomniac is also the firm that's working on another uber-cool project, that is Marvel's Wolverine. Although a release date hasn't been finalized for Spider-Man 2, players should be swinging the streets of New York before 2023 ends. Spider-Man 1 has won a lot of hearts on PS4, and the PS5 game Spider-Man Miles Morales did the same for PS5 users. It shouldn't come as that hopes and expectations are high with their new project. An interesting detail about the new game is the confirmation that Venom, voiced by Tony Todd, would be in the game fighting Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Yeah, you heard that right. Both the Spider-Men would be leaving cobwebs all around their neighborhoods. Other villains that may feature could be the Lizard, Green Goblin, and maybe all the members of Sinister Six. If we are to go by Insomniac's words, they wish to deliver a game that's not just a compelling human story, but one that's full of humor and heart, one that dives deep and unveils who people really are behind their masks. Peter and Miles share different sets of ideologies. It would be interesting to see if they stick together and fight as a team or fall apart and fight each other. Lastly, Spider-Man 2 is going to have some pretty cool new suits and abilities. We do not have many details on what exactly these things would be, but the trailer itself looks promising.
End this once and for all.
Forspoken. Forspoken is an ambitious project being helmed by Square Enix, the same guys who own the Final Fantasy franchise. Initially named Project Athia, the game has managed to secure a release date of January 24th, 2023. The main character, Frey Holland, is a modern young woman with exceptional parkour abilities who gets transported into an ancient land of fantasy, and here she will have to learn to control her abilities to survive and achieve greatness. According to the story trailer, Frey discovers her powers and is shocked at them. She even notices the presence of a dragon. In the contemporary world, she is a bullied kid who wants to escape her fate and wishes for simpler things like blue skies, fresh air, and peaceful life. And soon enough, she finds herself in a pristine land filled with fantastic beasts and magic. It seems that redemption and growth would be the driving force of the game, and Frey Holland will start to see life with a fresh perspective after getting a new life. Within the span of a moment, she goes from being a bullied kid to a powerful superhero of sorts. The open world game will have Frey Holland fight an entourage of monsters and a mysterious boss-like villain. However, she gains magical powers in her new home. The magic helps her achieve incredible feats such as running and climbing at high speeds, jumping beyond human limits. Various abilities like flow and rush help her to make swift movements and for defense. And all this is further enhanced by her parkour skills, and it makes sense because movement is probably the most important factor in an open world game. It can make or break things for your character. But that's not all. Frey will also be an expert combatant and use her magic and various other abilities to defeat monsters. Atomic Heart. Atomic Heart hadn't taken the gaming world to become one of the most anticipated games until Mundfish released their trailer as far back as 2018. The premise of the game is a great contributing factor. So, in an alternate world, the USSR survived its dissolution and managed to create a utopian society where people live happily with robots. But of course, that doesn't last long, and the player is supposed to get to the crux of things. The game will release on all next-gen consoles in addition to PS4 and PCs. Scheduled to release on February 21st, 2023, let's dive deep into the story and gameplay of this awesome-looking game. The game will be a fine blend of Soviet-era nuances and some nasty robots dying to dispense death and destruction. The story was set in Russia in 1950, and the USSR is living in its golden age of tech. They have developed state-of-the-art robotic servants who are controlled by a centralized network called Collective and are run on an entirely new source of energy called polymer. However, the tech paradise soon falls prey to the machines when all connections are lost to Facility 3826. The USSR does not wish the mishap to become an international incident because an upgraded robot is to be unveiled soon. Naturally, the authorities assign a man named Sergei Nechayev, who is the main player, and a veteran KGB agent to find out what went wrong. By the time he reaches the facility, he is shocked to see that the robots have turned rogue and are hard at performing crazy biological experiments on human researchers to turn them into monsters. Sergei will now have to use his knowledge and combat expertise to ensure that he learns the truth, puts an end to the elegant mess, and checks the news from crossing the national border.
Fight!
Tekken 8. The first Tekken game was released in 1994 for arcade. Over the next 2 decades, they released 6 more installments of the game, but it has been 7 years since a new game came out. But that's going to change in late 2023 or early 2024. The Tekken 8 trailer is filled with footage that looks very promising, with the game making its way to the next-gen consoles like PS5, Xbox Series X and S series, and PC, which means that more people will play Street Fighter VI on PS4. The trailer does not reveal much as far as the story is concerned, but it seems like Jin and his companions will work together to defeat Kazuya. Interestingly, Jin's mother, Jun Kazama, will also make her return since her last appearance in Tekken 2. The last installment had Kazuya seemingly kill his old man, and Jin was sent into a coma. But he's back, and plans to defeat Kazuya once and for all. As the game now focuses on the Devil Gene, a gene that lets its possessor transform into dangerous devilish monsters, we shall see a lot of devilish transformations. In fact, Devil Jin will be an entirely different character. As far as the gameplay is concerned, Tekken 8's graphics are far superior to Tekken 7, but the gameplay remains more or less the same. However, there's an open world element to the game which should bring a fresh perspective and make the game a lot more immersive than it already is. Silent Hill Ascension. Silent Hill Ascension will be the franchise's latest title to be released in 2023 after a gap of almost a decade. The horror franchise is one of the greatest in the genre, and fans often argue over the scare quotient of Silent Hill and Resident Evil. This new game is quite a risk that the franchise is taking because of how experimental it is. If we are to go by trailer, we see a video that's just been aired online, and there are people in a chat box commenting about saving someone they only refer to as her. Meanwhile, someone else comments with a warning to run. To serve the horror element well, there is a huge shadowy monster that seems to be the bad dude the her is supposed to be saved from. At the end of the trailer, all we get are the text "Face your trauma together," which is quite a hint that the game will be multiplayer and there's definitely going to be some audience interaction. I said earlier that this was quite an experimental project. The reason I said that was because the game is described as a live event, which could mean that instead of playing it actively, players will be expected to watch, chat, and maybe vote to influence the direction in which the game proceeds. It could also be a live stream. I am really unaware of how things will turn out for Silent Hill Ascension, but people are confused and for all the wrong reasons.
Retreat! Retreat! Open fire!
Aliens: Dark Descent. The Alien franchise has been a hit among moviegoers. The same cannot be said about the video games, but Aliens: Dark Descent is about to change the scene. Set after the events of Alien 3, a team is sent to stop xenomorphs on the moon base of Lethe while they gather resources to repair their spacecraft. Produced by 20th Century Games and Focus Entertainment, Aliens: Dark Descent is rated R with dark and gory environments to give the players a horrifying experience. The trailer gives us enough information to predict how the games will evolve. Plus, it tells us that the game will be released in the year 2023 for various gaming platforms. It's the year 2198 at Tantalus Base, and Sergeant Leo Alvarez reports back to the base that things did not go as planned. Had he known he was in an alien game, he would have known that nothing goes all right when xenomorphs are involved. The game begins with 5 different unlockable characters, each with its own set of ammunition and skills. Players may employ a weapon to access security gates or to close welded doors, as they have shown in the trailer, while they move from one hallway to the next. Although these changes are permanent and may affect the next decisions. They can customize their characters, and the one unique aspect of this game is players have to maintain the physical as well as mental health of their character, which can impact the gameplay of the character and even cause them to sabotage the player's missions. The game pays a wonderful homage to James Cameron's movie and has many notable references to the movie, and has a diverse range of compelling stories for various characters, and the pace of this game is an improvement on the previous ones. Aliens: Dark Descent allows a lot of scope in the missions. The gamers can even weld the doors. Ark 2. Ark 2 has earned a lot of popularity with the new trailer and Vin Diesel's association with the game. It is the sequel to Ark Survival Evolved, a Studio Wildcards action video game, which requires gamers to sustain being stuck on one of the numerous maps populated by wandering dinosaurs, fictional monsters, and other prehistoric living creatures, natural calamities, and other human contenders. Ark 2 has taken it up a notch with improved graphics and musical elements. They have beautifully showcased the new world order where to survive, you must do anything. While we have yet to see the first Ark 2 game experience, everything we understand about the game says that we are correct in considering it among the most awaited games of 2023, although a date has not been announced yet. Vin Diesel will play the hero character Santiago in Ark 2. Santiago is a clone of the character Santiago da Costa from Ark Survival Evolved. Studio Wildcard guarantees that we'll understand more about him once he appears in the impending Ark the Animated Series. Although the Ark franchise started off slow, it made a huge impact on gameplay and ambience. The game became so huge after actor Vin Diesel declared he was a huge fan of the game that the sales went up, and now it is back with another one with Vin in the lead. The graphics were pretty amiable in the first one, and they have upgraded them for Arc 2, which will be a new experience for the fans. Also, for those who have watched the trailers, the studio has included something surprising in their gameplay, as Santiago controls his own pet T-Rex alongside his daughter. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Another game inspired by James Cameron's movie Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is a story separated from the movies and is set on the western frontier, a never-seen part of Pandora. Before that, Ubisoft Montreal released a game in 2009 for PlayStation 3, Xbox, Nintendo DS, and Microsoft Windows titled Avatar: The Game. As the films, the game became very popular and sold many copies. It featured a prequel to the story and included many stars who reprised their roles from the film. Sadly, the online version of the game is no longer available due to unknown reasons. Ubisoft is now back with Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, targeting all audiences who have and have not watched the film, since the game is said to have no connection to the film's plot. The game is set to release in 2023 for the Xbox Series S and X, PC and PC5, and according to the trailer, the graphics seems to be as beautiful as the James Cameron film. For the fans of the franchise, it will be a chance to explore different parts of Pandora, do missions as avatars, find new grounds, and train their pets. More information on the gameplay will be revealed soon by Ubisoft, but it is guaranteed to have a lot of fun and new experiences for gamers.
I am controlling it, or if it's controlling me.
Final Fantasy XVI. After delivering 15 successful series in the Final Fantasy franchise, Square Enix is back with its new addition to this role-playing video game franchise, the Final Fantasy XVI. The franchise is popular for its consistently beautiful graphics and advanced missions for its gamers, but this is the first totally different mainstream Final Fantasy sequel since Final Fantasy XV, and it would seem to star entirely new protagonists in a totally new universe. Final Fantasy XVI will be released exclusively for PS5 for a limited time starting June 22, 2023. It begins with an anticlimactic tragic killing of a bird horse. Following that, it's a series of rapid combat, complete with air spinning and mid-fight wizardry casting. Further, kaiju-scale icon combat is shown, but it's unclear what percentage of it is real-time gameplay or whether it's just pre-planned segments. Final Fantasy is recognized for its deep factions, but the published battle clip fixates mostly on Clive, the player protagonist, in a vibrant fight against beasts. Producer Yoshida affirmed that the gamers will be able to bring members of the party into battle, although they will be largely AI, allowing us to focus on managing Clive's actions. GTA 6. Grand Theft Auto is clearly one of the most popular and successful gaming franchises of all time. The franchise as a whole has sold millions of copies all over the internet, and Vice City's contribution is unforgettable. GTA 6 suffered leaked gameplay, which tells us that some of the characteristics of the game appear to be lifted straight from Rockstar's previous masterwork, Red Dead Redemption 2. More RPG elements such as hunger, drink, and sweat are rumored to be included, which would be a showstopper for the game. Since it was revealed that there would be two main characters, the game's narrative is said to be centered on the renowned burglars Bonnie and Clyde. The fifth game in the GTA franchise was released in March of 2022 and was appreciated for its technical updates and enhanced gaming performance. Thus, the expectations from the new game are huge, but the studio is recovering from a massive leak and still hasn't revealed any information about GTA 6. But it may be possible for the game trailer to drop soon and the game to be released for PlayStation shortly after. That was our list of the 20 high-budget games set to make their way to consoles in 2023. Of course, some of you may feel this was not a very comprehensive list. Please feel free to let us know about it in the comments.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, be safe out there, and thanks for watching.
Lights out, old friend.